Hello everyone, and welcome to a visual novel called Secrets in Green. I'm not sure what this one is about. It's about 14,000 words, and I am ready to read it. Let's go ahead and give it a start. Already we have some beautiful scenery out here. So this is the cottage that Father was telling me about. It's bigger than I expected. I take out Father's letter again, reading with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. Dear Almna, it is my belief that after your most recent episode, it would be to your benefit to relocate to somewhere more private and quiet. I have instructed our driver to escort you to your uncle's old summer home in the countryside, where you will stay for a time. I sincerely hope that the undisturbed peace will bring about some change in you, so that we can put this dreadful business behind us. Oh, I can't have it? That's me. I'm the dreadful business. As far back as I can remember, I've had what Father had referred to as fantasies, disturbed dreams, periods of confusion, and compelling realities that have turned out to be not real at all. I suppose I'm not altogether there. My last episode, as Father put it, was a particularly bad one. I'm not sure if this temporary change of scenery will do me any good, but at least it could be interesting. I hear footsteps to my right, and then a lady appears, the companion Father has hired to ensure my comfort here.
Oh, yes.
Ah, you're here. Very good. Very good indeed. Let me do something. I am. I nod meekly. Companion had been my father's words, but considering her slightly stern demeanor, she feels more like a boarding school matron.
Right then.
Let's get you settled inside. I've brought some groceries and supplies for you. Well, thank you. She wastes no time in striding swiftly up the path, and I follow.
Now,
Per your father's request, I'll be checking in on you several times a week to make sure you have everything that you need. Oh good, I'll be left alone. You won't be standing over me 24/7. She regards me with the look of someone slightly warning a child not to misbehave, silently, not slightly. So, if you have any troubling thoughts or need anything at all, just ask.
yes.
Yes. Her face softens ever so slightly, revealing a warm, welcomed ray of compassion beneath her disciplinarian front. She turns, adjusting the arrangement of boxes and jars upon the shelves. What am I to call you, miss?
Oh,
She whips around in a startling fashion, as though she'd completely forgotten about this detail.
yes.
Mrs. Miller will do.
All right.
Yes, miss. With a final sweep of the room, she declares herself satisfied.
Right then.
Have a restful evening. I'll be back to see you again soon. I love the voice actresses already. She turns to the door before I can reply, so I simply stare at her back. Alone. I wonder if this will turn out into being like a horror, since this is like a mental, psychological thing already. Where am I? Oh, that's right. In my slumber, I'd forgotten that I came here yesterday. This is going to feel strange for a while. I wash and dress, and then I feel myself drawn to go outside. It's quite a pretty place, although the garden is a bit neglected. Might as well get into that. I've always adored plants. At home, I keep as many potted pretties as Father will let me. As I gaze around the overgrowth, my hands itch with impatience. Yes, I'll make this my project. Don't fret, little garden. Alma will make you wonderful again. A sprinkle of fresh soil here, a snip to remove those dead leaves. It's probably been hours, but I barely noticed. I only stop when I feel a presence behind me.
Golly.
Goodness, look at the difference. Miss Miller takes in my handiwork with a rare smile.
Very good.
You got quite the green from Almna. I'm impressed. I can't help but beam happily from ear to ear. Your father will be very pleased to hear you've taken up a hobby that keeps you occupied. You should write to him. I feel a tiny sting at the suggestion of my fragile mental state, but I'm still too merry for my gardening to let it bother me.
Yes.
You're right, I shall. Yes, just write to him, I suppose. The nib of the pen scratches busily as I write to him. I do exactly as Mrs. Miller advised, telling my father that my first full day at the cottage had been very productive. I've enjoyed tending to the garden, and hadn't had any worried thoughts or feelings. It's only the first day, though. Perhaps this trip really will help me after all. Just before I sign my name, I add one last hopeful sentence. I think I'm settling in quite well. Alright then. I'm in my happy place again. The garden is all but transformed thanks to my skilled hands. I think tending to plants is my true calling in life. Heaving the rake towards myself, I pull away the last of the broken branches, fallen leaves, and trimmed ends of grass. How lovely the garden has an actual walkway now. I follow its vibrant green carpet all the way to the back of the property, where a fence stretches across the edge. There's unkempt tall grass on the other side, but I'm gifted with one last joy to call my own. A large climbing plant, some sort of ivy, winds its way along the fence. Its wide leaves seem to smile in the sunlight.
Oh.
What a treat! I certainly won't be cutting this down. I reach out and run my thumb over a leaf, relishing its waxy touch. My eyes follow the delicate veins in its flesh, and then... What's this?
Oh no.
I thought of the word flesh, and then it all went downhill from there. A horrible sense of dread begins to coil in my stomach. Am I doing it again? The fantasy? With a nervous hand, I seize the leaf that had caught my eye. Hello? Oh no. Where did that come from? Hello? I rub my fingers across the word, expecting it to disappear like a phantom. It stays put. Startled, I spring back from the plant, letting the leaf ping back into place with a wobble. I think I better go inside. The plant is saying hello to you, okay? There's nothing to be afraid of. Talking plants do exist. They write on their own leaves. It seems to take an age, but at last Miss Miller arrives. Is everything alright, Alma? You seem shaken. She notices the second she walks in. I fear my mind might have played a trick on me. Shame sours my tongue as I say the words aloud. Or I have a weird stalker that writes on my plants. They shouldn't. What sort of trick? I hesitate and then step timidly towards the door. I'll try to show you. Oh wow, the sunset. I love the touches on the outside. I'm glad that there's more scenery to look at. We tread cautiously through my lovingly created pathway. Its previous joy is no longer present. It was right here. A message. I rummage around the plant, searching for the leaf that had startled me so badly. It's not there. Of course it's not. I can't find the little word anywhere. It's like it never existed. Miss Miller exhales a long sigh, as though she's been expecting this to happen at some point.
Listen.
I don't think there are any messages here, Alma. You're correct. It was just a little delusion, no? Delusion. It sounds so damning, and I feel like a fool, though.
Never mind.
Not to worry. Let's have a nice cup of tea and forget all about it, shall we? It won't pay to dwell on such things. She gives another one of her signature nods. Helplessly, I agree. Thank you, Miss Miller. You make me feel so much better. There. Take some rest, and perhaps I'll bring you a tonic to calm your nerves. She poses it as a question, but it feels more like a statement.
All right.
Thank you, Miss Miller. Barely a week in, and I already need help. I'm not as strong as I thought. It is damning, indeed. It's been a few days since that upsetting experience, but the fear is behind me now. I obeyed Mrs. Miller's insistence on bed rest and taken the tonic she fetched me from the apothecary. Apothecary? 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 The calm had helped me to feel grounded again, and I haven't had any more hallucinations. I think my mind is steady once more. The thought warms my mood, and I finish my lunch and head out into the garden. I hadn't been out here since that day, and the brightness that greets me is healing. Looking around at all my hard work, I'm reassured. This had been a fun project. The garden really does make me happy. With purpose, I stride towards the fence. I gaze at the leafy plant, no longer scared of what it may hold. It's just a plant, a piece of Mother Nature that come to say hello. I reach out for a leaf, and the texture is welcoming once more. Then I turn it over. I just got back outside, and the plants are already talking to me once again. Who's watching me? I jump backwards, reeling with shock and terror. This torture is not over. Who knows that I'm new here? I haven't spoken to anyone but Mrs. Miller since I arrived last week. Gods, that tonic didn't do anything at all. I immediately want to tell Mrs. Miller, but she isn't coming today. She's visiting her mother in the village across the river. My limbs quake with fear and indecision. What do I do? Well, I know that this is gonna be an option. Here we are. Maybe. Perhaps I could. Feeling incredibly strange, I walk back to the cottage. Snatching my pen and ink from the table, I take them back outside. I'm almost too scared to touch the plant again, as though it will attack me. After a moment, I clasp a blank leaf gingerly and scrawl a message of my own. Who are you? I stand back and stare at my work. A feeling of blame creeps over me. I know I shouldn't indulge these fantasies. This can't be helpful for me. It's very scary being in a situation like this. You see something that shouldn't be there. You know it's not real. Or maybe it is. And you've been so caught up in strange situations that you feel like your mind is playing tricks on you. It's like your mind is gaslighting you in a way. It's very terrifying. You don't know what to do. But baby, I awoke a little while ago. My first thought was of the plant. Trying to send my mind somewhere else, I feel it wander back to my childhood. Nature had always fascinated me. I'd gain endless bliss from smelling its blooms, watering its thirsty roots, and learning its stories. It spoke to me, or at least I spoke to it. While other children had people as their imaginary friends, I had plants for mine. I never wanted for company as long as I had a little flower playmate to talk to. Ended up putting a stop to that as much as he could. My doctor told us that such fantasies were a symptom of my condition, my hysteria. Oh no, it's perfectly normal to talk to plants. People do that. Even talking to a plant can help a plant in a way. I don't know how it works, but I think it's like you're like your breath or something. And I've read about this somewhere. I've already forgotten what it does. I did my best to obey my father's wishes. I wanted to get better for him. And yet, when I think about the conversations I had with my colorful friends, I can't help but smile. It's a painful thing, this double-edged knife of fondness and shame. Unable to wait any longer, I spring up out of bed. I must put myself out of my misery. Let's see. I can't make sense of my feelings as I hurry to the fence. Am I scared? Or excited? Or both? The plant awaits me. Tell me your secrets. Upon inspection, I see that just like before, the old messages have vanished without a trace. But in their place, there's a leaf bearing a single word.
What?
Lost. This is not a dream. It can't be. The evidence is right here. Tear the leaf off and take it with you. I brush my hand across the letters. This is not written in ink. It doesn't even look like a message I wrote. It's softer, more earthy, like a part of the plant itself. It feels like proof.
No!
No, Amna. It's not happening. We've been through this before. Even the message I wrote to it is gone. The doctor, my father, and Mrs. Miller are all right. This is your imagination weaving wicked tales, not the plant. I tear back across the garden and into the house. Shaking in fear of my own mind, I throw myself down onto a chair to wait for Miss Miller. Ah, yes. My daughter is suffering from hysteria. Let's isolate her away from her friends and family. No. I know. We repeated the same ritual again. As soon as Miss Miller had arrived, I dragged her outside to show her the new message, but of course, it's not there. I wish I'd snapped the thing from its stem so I could have preserved it. Instead, I'm standing here looking delirious once more.
This isn't good.
Yeah, you're telling me, Miss Miller, it sure ain't good at all. You've got to stop indulging in this madness, Amna. I nod, but she fixes me with the most stern gaze yet.
Listen.
Your father had entrusted me with your well-being, but I can only do so much. You need to help yourself too, understand? I can't speak, mute with humiliation.
No.
I think it's best that you don't come outside for the time being. This knocks a gasp out of me. I'm going to have to inform your father of this. I'll consult the local doctor too. I don't think simple tonics will be enough. Swallowing my emotions, I croak out a reply.
Yes.
Yes. Miss Miller had watched me drink a glass of water, wash my face, and cook myself a meal. She had only left once I sat down to eat, professing myself much calmer. The truth is, I'm not. Today's message. Lost. What does that mean? Is my troubled mind inventing a predicament? And if so, who is stuck in it? The plant itself? Or me? Lost. I'm trying to deny it and see sense, but I'm really beginning to think that someone or something is attempting to communicate with me. It's a downward spiral. As all these things you happen to you that just don't seem realistic. You just imagine what could be real about it in a way. or if it ever was real at all. I mean, it's real to you, it's happening to you, but if it's not happening to people around you as well, in a way, I guess, it's like, it could be very, disorientating. And then your mind goes downwards, it's like a slope. As you keep indulging, you just keep falling into this pit, and soon that becomes your reality. It happens really fast sometimes, or sometimes it happens over the course of like months or days or weeks. So it's all very scary, I guess, when it does happen. My fingers trace the edge of the page as I reread the letter. True to her word, Miss Miller had told my father all about my misadventure. He'd written back to me directly, brimming with lectures and disapproval, and that doesn't really help, I don't think. Lectures and disapproval of something that your mind is doing to you, you can't really, you can't physically control that. You're not doing it to yourself, and you don't want it to happen to you, and yet for some reason, you keep getting met with, criticism and disapproval, and it's just a painful response, really. Every word I read hurt my heart. He writes as though I'm such a burden, and in honesty, I agree with him. And then that puts you in the worst mental state. And I've always caused him so much grief with my troubles. Whenever he found a new doctor, place, or practice that may soothe me, I'd gone along with it eagerly. I've never wanted to be a hardship to him. I still feel the eagerness now, but it's mixed with, well, what is this that I am feeling? I think it's frustration. Father sent me here for my own good, but now that I'm all alone in this cottage, whose garden I can't even visit anymore, I'm starting to feel trapped. I want to go outside. I want to see the plant and its terrifying leaves. I want to be normal. A paper drifts from my hand as I loosen my grip. Even knowing that I shouldn't, I step outside. The evening air is sweet and cool. The fence glows in the sunset. The ivy's leaves are bare, patterned only with earthy veins. Oh? I don't remember bringing my pen outside with me. I don't remember dipping it in fresh ink either. Bemused but compelled, I follow my instincts regardless. Do you need help? That is what I write across the nearest leaf. The ink pricks sharply against the grain, unlike the gentle scrawl of the ivy's messages. Then I turn and leave, and I do everything in my power to think of nothing at all. The sleep is comforting. My dreams envelop me warmly, until I'm not sure why I wake. It's still dark outside. I can't have been asleep for many hours. Wait. That sound. What is it? A distant rustle, so faint I could have imagined it. But it's definitely there. I listen hard until the noise fades away into nothingness. Was it coming from outside? I peer around the door into the gloom. I see nothing out of place. Just a fox, perhaps, or a rabbit. My eyes stray across the garden, landing upon the fence. I shouldn't, but I do. I've never been out here in the dead of night before. It feels shifted, strange. No sound greets me. I reach for the leaf that I'd written on earlier to see if my words are still legible. It's not there. No, it's gone. And there's... Oh God.
Oh no.
Please, no. Yes, I was right.
What's going on?
What is it? I speak aloud into the darkness, touching the plant all over as if searching for more clues.
Who's that?
What do you need? Who is in danger? My voice quivers with adrenaline, and I grow hot with panic. It can't be a hallucination. It's too real. Somebody needs my help. The air fills with sound of rasping as I breathe hard. It feels like something is coming, but I'm running out of time. Oh, a panic attack. Frenzied, I find the leaf with the message again. Fulfilling my previous wish, I rip the thing out and clench it tightly in my sweating hand. There. Now, no one can dispute it. Without a clue of where I'm going, I stumble blindly across the garden into the road. Where can I find help at this hour? Fueled by my unpleasant fever, I let my feet propel me without thought. A few moments later, I see a house peeping out of the blackness like a beacon of hope. Help! Please help! I glance fearfully over my shoulder, feeling as though doom is only seconds away. Somebody help me! I'm going to save you! Whoever's out there, I'm coming! What happened? Everything went so wrong. When that poor family I disturbed had answered the door, they thought me a madwoman. A policeman had been summoned, and he had taken me away. I ended up in the next town, at what he described as a clinic. It had nurses, but not the kind one see in everyday circumstances. They were the kind who aren't that far removed from prison wardens. I'd had to wait until the next afternoon to see any familiar faces. Then Miss Miller had turned up, with none other than my father in tow. That's when I knew it was bad. Father explained the state of my mind, describing me in a way that made me sound like nothing short of a lunatic. I don't think he meant to, but he simply had no kinder words. After hearing this, the policeman was content in returning me to his care. I hadn't hurt anyone, after all. The nurses had urged my father to do what had been threatening at the edges of my existence for a long time, to finally send me to a mental asylum and be free of my wildness. I pleaded with him not to, and to my great relief, he'd taken my side. I doubt it was out of fondness, though. He probably only spared me in the interest of saving face and not dragging our family's reputation any further through the mud. It had certainly seemed that way when we'd come back to the cottage. Father had barked and bellowed at me for what felt like hours. Miss Miller had excused herself upstairs on the pretense of folding towels out of awkwardness. I nodded yet through giant sobs as he scolded me. I disappointed him yet again. Fresh tears crawled down my cheeks as I lay curled in the armchair. It's been days since the ordeal, but no matter how tightly I wrap my arms around myself, I don't feel safe. Opening my fist, I look down at the leaf in my hand. It's crumpled, but the single damning word yes is still etched on its surface. No one had believed me. They assumed I forged the message myself in order to create fake proof of my delusion. Attention seeker, they called me. But I'm not. My hand closes of its own accord, mashing the leaf in a scrunched up ball. For the first time in my life, I felt angry. Not at myself, but at everyone else. I've always understood why my fancies had been cast aside. They encouraged my lunacy. But perhaps now I've been dismissed one too many times. I'm tired of being ignored, of being treated as lesser than others. A pressure builds in my stomach, spreading out across my bones, igniting all of my senses. Determination. Unable to contain it, I let it pull me from the chair. Disobeying my orders, I grab my pen and ink and wrench the door open. I know I shouldn't, but I no longer care. Show me. That's what I ask. Simple but commanding. Show me where the danger is. I don't know what will happen next. I just hope I'm not too late. Maybe the ivy just needs a little trimming, you know? You need to pull up the weeds or something. Help it grow. Alright, Alma. I'll leave you to sleep. Did you take your tonic?
Yes.
Yes, Miss Miller. She nods with satisfaction. She's taken to visiting the cottage more, to keep an eye on me. Tonight, it almost feels like she's tucking me in to bed like a child.
Oh, yes.
You should read that again, you know. She gestures at the letter on the table beside the bed.
Very good.
It shows real progress. It'll keep your faith strong. Go on. Read it aloud to me before I go. I'm not very enthusiastic, but I do it anyway to appease her. Dear Alma, it pleases me to hear that your days have been calm since the incident with the neighbors. Your progress is valuable and must not be underestimated. Miss Miller sets her mouth into a thin line of satisfaction as I read. My recent quietness has been taken as an improvement. Father has switched back to praising me. Everybody wants me to take pride in his approval, but somehow I can't. He doesn't understand me. He doesn't see me as I am, as I really am. He wants a submissive and obedient daughter with nothing in her head. When I defy that daydream with my hysteria, he treats everything that I say like the ramblings of a silly little girl. Even now, in my 20th year, my words and feelings have no meaning to him. It makes me restless. Once I'm finished, Miss Miller leaves me to sleep. I'm not exactly tired, though. My senses are too alert. Sighing, I lay for a while staring hopelessly at the ceiling. Isn't that the noise again? What noise? We haven't talked about a noise before, as far as I can remember. We talked about the words on the leaves, but I don't think I've heard a noise. What is it? It's definitely coming from outside. I whip the blanket from myself and patter softly but swiftly downstairs. Yes, I still hear it. I think the source is beyond the fence. Oh? What made that thumping sound?
Who's there?
Hello? Silence. Gosh, I just can't riddle this out. Acting upon the only instinct I have, I checked the plant for any new messages. Yes, I knew it. The window. I automatically turn and glance back at the windows of my own cottage. That can't be right, though. It must be a different window. But where? I rise upon my tiptoes, craning my neck to see as far over the fence as I can. I can just make out a shape of something. A small house in the distance. I suppose I have closer neighbors than I realize. This fence seems to separate our gardens. The rustling is definitely moving that way. I rest my heels back down onto the earth with a sinking feeling. Whoever this is, I think it's bigger than me. I don't think I'm clever enough or strong enough to solve this mystery. I drown in a sense of defeat for a moment. Then something else rears its head from underneath, that determination that sparked within me before. That anger. Who is it to decide what I can do? Father, Miss Miller, the world? No, it's me. Feeling terribly unlike myself, I seized the top of the fence, doing my best to mentally shake off my usual nature of obedience. Pausing, I brace myself for whatever situation I'm about to let myself fall into. Be brave, Alma. As I haul myself upwards and over, my ankle almost rolls as I land. What's this beneath my feet? Looks like coal. It's a pile of coal hiding in the grass. The piece I've picked up smudges its sooty shadow across my fingers. It reminds me of something. Turning around, I gasp a leaf from the ivy and draw a line across its flesh. That's it. This is what the messages have been written in. The plant isn't communicating with me after all. Someone's been chalking the words onto it in coal and dropping the lumps into the earth below. Fire pulses through my veins at the realization. I may have been wrong about the ivy, but my suspicion that a real person is in trouble seems have been proven right. I knew it. Drawing myself up to my full height, I began to stride through the grass. What do you think it is? This is a very big house. For you not to be able to see it over a fence, but maybe you're just very short. It's like my own garden had been before I tidied up, except this one is even more overgrown. The long, scratchy fingers of the weeds tickled my legs through my nightdress. I tried to ignore it, wishing that I'd put on shoes. So this is it. It looks so normal, just another cottage in a field. I wonder who lives here and why they're sending me messages to a stranger in the middle of the night. Wary of being seen, I start to creep up delicately as possible around a cottage. Something tells me that maybe this person might know of you or know you. The windows, that's what I'm meant to be looking at. It's hard to see anything properly in the dark. The little glimpses that I do catch reveal nothing out of the ordinary. My frustration leaks out of me in a quiet sigh. Which window? What am I supposed to do? Well, at a loss, I trample around the back of the cottage. I doubt anything will be here, but I just wanted to do something. Then, at least I can say that I tried. As I expected, just a couple of barrels standing against the wall. Nothing at all that could... Wait, I see it. A breeze wafts a nearby tree branch. A slice of moonlight that breaks through reflects off the surface of something that I hadn't noticed at first. There's an indent in the soil, a trench almost, and the walls of the cottage continue to stretch into it below the house itself. Peeking out just below the top of the trench, embedded into the wall, is a tiny window. This house had a cellar. My gut begins to squirm, and I know instantly that this is where I was asked to come. Getting down to my knees, I crawl as close to the window as I can. Get and look inside. It's a pitch black in there, so identifying anything at all is difficult. All I have is a faint glow of the moon. I could see a room of stone, perhaps a box or two, and something moving, a small mass rising and falling with the telltale signs of life. My first thought is that it must be a dog or some other beast. What else would be kept away from the main house in a cellar like this? Squinting, I move my body aside to let more of the moonlight into the window. Who are you? But how could a dog or a beast send you messages in the night? Then the figure turns its head, and I see shapes that I recognize. A brow, a nose, a small rounded chin. It's a child, isn't it? And my heart falls into my stomach. It's a boy. He can't be any older than 7. His tiny form shivers on the cold hard floor, and his head is bowed in hopelessness.
Yes.
Oh my god. I hadn't meant to say it aloud, but The treachery of the situation is overwhelming. My eyes sting with tears. The boy must have heard me. His head jolts up and he swivels quickly to face me. When our eyes meet through the glass, my heart breaks for him. He looks utterly dejected, and his desperation to escape this prison is practically visible in the air around him. How long has he been here, and who on earth would do this to him? He pulls himself to his feet, skittering across the room and throwing himself at the wall beneath the window. The face he makes at me is pleading, begging me to get him out, and it becomes my wish too. I want to take him from this place, scoop him into my arms, and tell him that everything will be alright.
Hold on.
It's okay, I'm coming. I have no idea how. I'm going to set him free, but I must find a way. I spread my hands across the window, feeling for any gap or crack that could gain me entry. I don't get very far, though. I've only been investigating for a few seconds when... the cottage door. Sensing danger, I flinch away from the window and stand up awkwardly. I can't let anyone see me out here. I start to back away when a pair of eyes locks onto me, and I feel like prey caught in the sight of a predator.
You.
Uh-oh. It's the neighbor. It's Hello Neighbor. Oh my gosh. I'm playing Hello Neighbor.
Oh no.
Oh my. Please, don't hurt me.
Disgusting.
You're that crackpot, aren't you? That lunatic. What's this kid of yours doing in the basement? In the cellar down here? I think you're the lunatic, Mr. Neighbor. The words feels like daggers to my skin. I've heard about you. You scared the neighbors last week, didn't you? Ranting and raving your insanity. Is that your pleasure, Missy? Sneaking out under cover of darkness and putting a fear of God into everyone with your madness? His face contorts into a repulsive scowl, and he takes a few steps towards me. I can't bring myself to defend my honor. My whole body is frozen in terror.
Get lost.
I'll not have you on my property. Keep your devil talk to yourself. He advances closer, flapping his arms wildly like me, like he's doing the chicken dance or something. Almost as though shooing an animal away, I see.
Go on with ya.
Go on, get out of here. In response, I let out a high whimper of terror. Shocked back in emotion, I forced my limbs to carry me across the grass in rapid, wobbly strides. The boy. But I can't do anything now. I have to get to safety. I hear the man chasing me, but I don't dare turn around to look. I just keep moving. I run faster than I've ever ran in my life, feeling a rush of longing as the ivy-draped fence comes back into view. Almost choking on adrenaline, I leap. He's gone. I can't even think. I just want to get inside. Heaving myself upright, I drag my exhausted body towards the cottage. All I can do for a few minutes is sink down onto the floor, trembling and gasp for air. What would that horrible man have done to me if he had caught me? And more to the point, it's clear that he's the one who's keeping that poor young boy locked up. I know it. I bet he wanted me gone so I didn't see the evidence of his abuse. But it's too late. I know what he's doing. Running all of my discoveries back through my mind, I piece together the mystery at last. The boy must be able to reach the window somehow and squeeze through. He must do this at night, when his captor is asleep, or should be asleep. He must inch quietly along the garden, taking a piece of coal from the fire pit along the way. And he must have written message to me, messages on the leaves of the ivy, a feeble cry for help. And he must wind it back just as quietly and slip in for the window as though nothing had happened. All of it makes sense now, considering what I've seen. But if he can climb through the window, why doesn't he? Well, I suppose the fence is too high for him. He's only a little boy. Even I struggle to haul myself over it. He's perfectly trapped, and this jailer knows it. Whether he knows that he's been sneaking out at night, I can't say. Even still, he's probably entirely convinced of the fact that his prisoner is going nowhere. I just cannot fathom why this is happening and what that sweet little soul must be going through. He needs to be saved. The agony of it all brings new tears to my eyes. No one deserves to live like that. I just don't know what to do. No one believes a word I say anymore, not after the episodes I've had since arriving at the cottage. Fresh anger burns within me at the thought. And then if the police are aware of the situation in the home life, the boy might be so frightful he might not even talk to the police if you call them. And then the man will spin the story and be like, oh, well, she is crazy, And they have the doctor's note to prove it because she's already been in the hospital type stuff and had a mental breakdown already. So, it's very stressful when you're in that situation and you feel like no one's gonna listen to you because no one has. And then something real is going on, something actually is happening. And it's just like, will anyone ever take you seriously? That's what everyone's calling them, episodes. And yet, I've just uncovered the truth. I've been right all along. I haven't had a single episode at all. My sight is clear. My reality is real. People just don't want to believe it. No, I'm going to help this boy. I'm doing it. And that's the end of that. But how do I proceed? Should I try to convince Mrs. Miller and my father that my word is reliable and ask for their help? Or is it futile? Oh my gosh. Here we go. Keep it a secret? Keep it a secret? What's that gonna do? Tell Mrs. Miller? Well, obviously, we're gonna go back and keep it a secret. Yes, I forced myself to take a deep breath, exhaling in long streams to calm myself down. The reason that everybody is always on high alert around me is because they care about me. The whole point of me coming here in the first place is because Father wanted to help soothe my nerves. It wasn't a punishment. He's a hard man, but underneath, there's love. He listened to me if I promised him that this business has nothing to do with my condition. I'm sure he would. I'm his only child, after all. Alright. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show myself to be as collected and rational as anyone can be. I'll tell Mrs. Miller about my findings tomorrow and show her more physical proof that she can't deny. She'll probably write to my father, but that's a good thing. Then I'll be able to show him the evidence too when he comes to check on me. They'll see and they'll help. Alright, let's see if they believe her. Jiggling with impatience, I almost yelp when I finally spot Miss Miller striding up the path. I feel like I've been waiting a lifetime for her. Amna, are you alright? Yes, Mrs. Miller. Although I have something very important to tell you, would you listen to me? Her expression clouds with confusion. Very well. Let's go inside. As I close the door behind us, it feels as though the world outside falls away, leaving nothing but the two of us in a tense void.
What's going on?
Well, what is it you would like to say, Alma? Okay. I wait until the butterflies in my stomach have slowed their wings. Then with a most steady and calm voice I speak. I tell her everything. I tell her that I agree with her. The messages I was seeing did seem like hallucinations at first. Then I remind her of the leaf that I managed to actually show her on the night I had taken away by the policeman. I show her another one. The window one from last night. I'd gone back out last night and pulled it from the plant. I'd taken the pile of coal and then showed her those. I'd demonstrate how the writing matches the powdery smudge. Then I recall how I'd climbed the fence, seen the boy, and been chased away by a frightening man. I repeat the rude words he called me, spitting them out as though they tasted bad. And with the greatest sense of normality I can muster, I tell her that we need to help the boy before something unthinkable happens. When I finish speaking, a long silence yawns between us. Eventually, Mrs. Miller blinks as though overwhelmed by everything I've said. And you've discovered all this last night?
Yes.
Yes, I still have the dirt from it. I hold up the night dress I've been wearing, muddied at the front of where I knelt at the cellar window. You're quite serene, Alma. No hysterics? I shake my head, feeling a pang of victory. No, miss. I'm feeling no madness at all. I'm quite certain of the truth. I meet her eyes again, and she stares almost blankly back at me, lost in thought. Eventually, her mouth sets into that line, the one that means that the decision has been made.
Right then.
Alright, Alma, this is what we're going to do. I'm gonna go to the village and fetch help. You stay here, do not leave this house, and do not answer the door to anyone. Is that clear? How about I just come with you? Can I just, come with you? I nod eagerly.
Yes.
Good. I'll be there as quick as I can. Try not to fret. This will all be resolved very soon.
All right.
Yes. She straightens up stiffly like a soldier called to attention. Glad I told her. She seems to know that I'm telling the truth. Then she turns and heads outside, locking the door behind herself. The second I'm alone, my whole body slumps. For once, it's not in defeat, it's in relief. Finally, someone is taking me seriously. I think staying composed was the trick. It showed Miss Miller that I'm not only full of wild fantasies. Sometimes I see sense, and she knows that now. Flopping down into the armchair, I wait with bated breath. This time I'm happy to do as I'm told. We're on the same side now. Let's see what happens. I'm not sure how long I'm left there for, but at last I hear footsteps coming up the path. Multiple sets of footsteps. She really did bring help. Excited, I spring up from my seat like a jack-in-the-box, gazing eagerly at the faces as they enter. Well, it's either the people coming to take me away in a straitjacket, or it's the policeman telling me what happened with the boy and all that. Hopefully, it's the second one. Alma. She sounds oddly tired as she says my name, as though she's been on a long journey.
Now.
You can rest easy now. I brought you the help I promised. I nod happily. The two figures standing behind her don't introduce themselves. I'm surprised to see that they're both women. I'd assumed she'd fetch policemen.
Oh?
What are we going to do? Miss Miller huffs out a weary sigh, looking at me with the pain in her eyes. It seems as though she's not going to enjoy whatever she says next. Oh no. They're here for me. She doesn't believe me, does she?
Oh, yes.
We're going to take you somewhere new, Alma. Somewhere with the people that you need. What?
What?
Sorry? She grits her teeth, her jaw twitching.
This isn't good.
I listened to your worries and I saw your proof. And this had made one thing abundantly clear. You're not equipped to remain in the outside world, Alma. Your delirium has gone too far. I feel the smile slide from my face. My skin grows cold. She didn't believe me. Of course, I hadn't been able to contact your father yet, but I believe that he'll agree with my course of action. I shake my head, barely able to comprehend what's happening.
Listen.
You're going to a new home, Alma. The nurses will give you everything required to tame your wildness. This is not.
Yes.
You're going to be safe, Alma. There will be no more false messages, no more imaginary friends, and no more confusion. I try to speak, but the horror rattling through my bones only makes my teeth chatter.
Right then.
Now be a good girl for these ladies and be still. There's a carriage waiting outside. As the mention of their presence, the two women nurses come alive at last. They stalk towards me slowly like a pair of lions backing their meal into a corner. No! Don't you see? I'm telling the truth. The nurses remain stone-faced, and Miss Miller looks at the floor guiltily.
I just...
Go next door. See him for yourself. My back hits the wall behind me, and I realize that I'm trapped. Seeing their opportunity, the nurses surge forward and grab me by the arms. They say nothing as they drag me around the room, edging towards the door, which Miss Miller had opened.
Hey!
Miss Miller, please. Hot tears spilled from my face as I gazed at her pleadingly. She shakes her head, turning her back and abandoning me. My feet rake up the dirt as I'm hauled out of the cottage. Not too far away, I hear the creaking of leather and the smell of heavy scent of horses. The carriage will take me to somewhere that I'll never escape from. Please, I don't want this. I feel myself being lifted up, and the fire within me gives one last burst of rage. I kick and scream and wail, clawing at the carriage door, but my anguish is wasted. The nurses are too strong. I watch, distraught, as Mrs. Miller closes the cottage door, and I know that I am doomed. Just like that little boy, I'm going to be locked up forever. Will either of us escape? Will we die before we find our freedom? Oh, sweet child, forgive me. Okay, Mrs. Miller, I ain't telling you nothing. What the hell, Mrs. Mueller? I thought you were on my side, but I guess you're on that crazy guy's side. Let's go ahead and load this up. Keep it a secret. I can't trust them. They don't trust me, obviously. If I'm going to help this boy, I need to act alone. It shouldn't be this way, though. If my father would just... My whole life, thus far, seems to swim in my mind's eye, and I finally see it for what it truly is. I've always believed that I was loved, but every doctor and nurse, every person on the street, even my own father himself, they've all treated me as a lesser being. Why? Because I have a sensitive mind? Because I'm a woman? It's probably both of these things. Why is it that men are able to act as they please, while us women have no choice but to do what is expected of us? Oh, this turned into like a feminist conversation. Why must we stay in our rightful place while our fathers and brothers and husbands live according to their own fancies? Why is it that when we show our vulnerability, our emotions, our fears, they're seen as madness? The anger that had flared in me earlier grows, raging into an inferno that bursts away at any remaining obedience left within me. Its wrath is frightful, and at the same time somewhat delicious, powerful. I will not let anyone stop me. I will save this child from his prison, and I'll do it all on my own. I clambered to my feet, raising myself up tall. Now then, how should I do this? I better not go anywhere near the house while that man is still there. He's clearly too protective of his territory. I'll have to make sure he's distracted or indisposed. But when is the best time to strike? Alright. Well, the last time I went there during the night, he was out there. He already knew. I'm gonna try act during the day, though. Maybe he'll be away at work or something. Yes. He saw me skulking around his property at night, but surely he wouldn't suspect a thing during the daytime. It's a little risky, but it's unexpected enough that it might actually work. Alright, what sort of distraction can I make? Something that will lead him away from the house. Oh, striding across the kitchen, I open the pantry door and scan the shelves for what I hope is there. Flour, eggs, butter, sugar. Good, I can get started right away. Rolling up the sleeves of my earth-stained nightdress, I get to work. It may be goodness knows what hour of the night, but I'm baking a cake. And we bake a cake. Miss Miller turns wide-eyed with surprise when she walks in the following morning. I'm sure she didn't expect to see me dressed in my finest clothing, with a large Victoria sponge cake dominating the kitchen table.
Golly.
Oh my, is it someone's birthday? There's a chuckle in her voice. I want to smile back, but I don't. Instead, I take a steady breath and begin to act that I've been rehearsing all morning. Not quite. You see, Mrs. Miller, I've come to the realization. Oh? Recently I noticed I hesitate for dramatic effect. I know my delusions have been bothering people. I disturbed that poor family in the middle of the night, and now that I'm looking back on it, I feel dreadful. That's not all. There was an evening where I wandered into next door's garden. Miss Miller's brow creases and I shrink a little in false shame. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you. I think I startled the man who lives there.
Alma.
Alma, you're...
Yes.
I know, I've been a nuisance, but I really had to make up for it. I reached a sort of clarity within the last few days. I truly see the error of my ways. Her eyes narrow in scrutiny as she tries to read my face.
I just...
If I could be given a chance to make amends with the neighbors for my behavior, it would be such a great relief. I gestured towards the fluffy, inviting cake on the table. So I baked a victorious sponge, and I'd be delighted if we could invite them for an afternoon tea. Miss Miller seemed quite taken aback. She gazes between me and the cake, as though trying to solve a particularly difficult puzzle. Then she shakes her head in disbelief. Well, I hadn't foreseen a change like this, Alma. It's quite noble of you to want to apologize. Are you sure that you'll be alright inviting strange people into your home? I understand why she asked this. I probably seem quite prone to hysterics, especially when things change.
Yes.
Yes, I'd say so. Besides, you were a stranger at first, but I'm quite comfortable with you, Miss Miller. A thinly veiled smile peeks out from behind her stern expression, and I grin inwardly to myself. Flattery always works.
Very good.
Well, then I suppose we should set the table, shouldn't we? This time I allow myself to beam excitedly at her.
Yes.
I think I'll walk along to the neighbors myself to invite them. It might set things off on an unsteady footing if they see you straight away. A comment like this doesn't hurt me, but in my determined state, it doesn't. I mean, it should hurt me, but it doesn't.
All right.
Yes, miss, I'll stay here and get everything ready. She leaves, and my nerves jolt as I race into the cupboard and fetch the plates and the teapot. Now then, Mr. Neighbor, let's see if you stop me from rescuing your hostage while you're sitting at my kitchen stuffing your dirty mouth with cake. Let's see if they come. Strange, I've been using my formal apology as an excuse to bring everyone here, and now that I've said it, I feel quite good about it. The family whose door I hammered on were the first to arrive. Miss Miller and I had laded them with generous slices of cake and steaming cups of fragrant tea. I played my remorseful little girl role very well, but when the family had forgiven me gracefully, I felt a real pang of gratitude. Forgetting about my plan for just a moment, I smiled thankfully at them for all being so patient with me. Miss Miller then stands up to answer the door. When I realize who's arrived, I'm struck with both thrill and dread at the same time.
Oh, yes.
May I introduce you to our final guest? She declares his name to the room, but my heart is beating so loudly in my ears that I don't hear it. Even in the daylight, the man seems so to radiate threat. He looks extremely uncomfortable as he sidles up to the table, taking a seat and nodding to everyone in reluctant greeting. All at once I want to rise from my chair and strike him. I want to seize him with every strength of 5 men and throw this deceptive tyrant out the door and into the dirt. But I breathe and breathe, and I hold it all inside. I wanted to extend my... Just say it. You don't have to mean it.
Well...
Sincere apologies for roaming on your property. A flash of annoyance sparkles in his eyes, but then he settles down. I suppose the company we're in makes him feel unable to show his true colors.
Yes.
It's quite alright. The words are barely more than a croak and very unconvincing. Well, at least both of us are lying to each other just as equally. Thank you for understanding, sir. She bows her head in an exaggerated display of gratitude. Emma has gone to the trouble of putting on a grand feast for us here as a token of our appreciation. May I get you a slice of sponge? She practically attacks him with the cake, the napkins, the hastily poured cup of tea. It's quite funny, and I'm glad for her over-the-top hospitality. It's the perfect distraction to accompany my next move. I'm just so pleased you're enjoying my baking. If I might be excused for a moment to use the ladies' room. The party seemed quite unfazed by this, nodding and taking more bites of their cake. My Miss Miller eyes me warily for a second, but upon seeing everyone else's lack of concern, she nods discreetly.
Yes.
I'll be a moment. Please help yourself to a second slice, if you wish. It's the least I can offer. I smile sweetly, ducking out of the room and into the garden. Alright, here we go. As I close the door behind me, my head swells with a dizzying mixture of relief and worry. This has gone perfectly. Now I need to make sure that I act fast before that man realizes that anything is amiss. To keep up appearances, I walk over to the outhouse that contains the lavatory. Oh, wow, they have an outhouse and everything? This plan is going to go perfectly. I make a show of swinging its creaking doors open loudly so that it can be heard from the kitchen. I am sure to slam it shut after going inside. Then I drop to the ground, staying out of sight and creeping as quietly as I can for the grass. Alright, Alma, this time it's different. No fear, no obstacles, no neighbor. Go and save that boy. Feeling the adrenaline ignite in my bones again, I spring into action. Here we go. We're crawling back. The cottage looks almost pretty in the light of the sun. Not that any place that man calls home could ever truly be pretty. I waste no time rushing around to the back and throwing myself onto the earth beside the cellar window again. This time the boy is easily visible in the daylight streaming through. The poor thing is asleep by the looks of it. His chest moves gently as he breathes, slumped on top of a thin, thoroughbred blanket on the hard floor. Hey, I've come back for you. I tap impatiently on the grass, hoping they'll wake him. Can you hear me? I don't want to raise my voice too much, but if he doesn't stir, huffing in frustration, I pull myself upright. If I can't wake him, then I'll have to go to him. I circled the house, looking for anything that might enable me to get inside. It seemed hopeless for a moment, then I spied the smallest window by the front door, cracked open by a tiny sliver. Waha! What a buffoon! You'll regret that. Diving in at it, I pry the window open to its full extent. It's not the most generous gap, but it'll have to do. Cursing myself for having worn so many petticoats, I squeeze and contort my body awkwardly as I try to slide myself through. I have swallowed the urge to cry out as the wooden frame and metal bars dig into my flesh. Then, with a rush of blissful relief, I crash onto the floor of the room below. For a second, I'm stunned. Standing here in this unfamiliar room feels oddly terrifying, probably because I'm absolutely not supposed to be here. Right, the cellar. I've got to find it. Moving carefully through the house, I search for the stairs going downward. I find as though I'm getting lost in a maze, staggering around without a clue. Eventually, though, I find the staircase of the house. One flight leading upwards to the bedroom and another leading down into the depths. That's it. My echoing footsteps seem to chime as a warning as I descend into the bowels of the house. With every step, my dread rises. At last, I reach the solitary cellar door. The sight of the heavy padlock securing it shut make me feel sick. Such brutish measure against a small, harmless little boy. Well, I'm going to need a key for that. Dashing back upstairs in a hurry, I return to the dining room and search around. He could keep the key on his person, but he might also stow it away somewhere secret. If it's here, I'll sniff it out. Minutes of rifling through books, opening drawers, and peering behind curtains reveals nothing. To make things worse, my ears pick up on a distant knocking sound, followed by Mrs. Miller's loud, concerned voice.
What's going on?
Alma, you've been there for quite some time. Is something the matter?
Oh, no.
Damn, they're about to notice that I'm gone. Scrabbling around in frenzy, I hear myself gasping hoarsely as my search becomes desperate. Please, just let it be here. Something tripped me as I passed over the rug. Aha! The corner I had fallen over had flipped up, revealing a chunky key that was hidden under the thick weave. Snatching it up, I fly back down the stairs with as much speed as possible. I slot the key into the lock, and it takes considerable force to make its tight, unforgiving mechanisms bend to my will. There. Huh? The sight of the dank, lonely cellar is much more horrifying from the inside. There's nothing here. A couple of boxes, a set of cold, lumpy cobbles paving the ground, a tiny, malnourished, innocent little boy crumpled at my feet.
Goodness.
Oh. I almost thought that the child wasn't there for a second. I was like, wait a minute, where is he? Oh, child, wake up. I kneel to his side, shaking the skinny boy and trying not to lose myself to despair. And there he is. We simply stare at each other for a long moment. His face breaks into recognition. The window. Yes, I saw you through the window. I read all your messages on the ivy. I have to hold myself back from sweeping the boy up in a bear hug.
Oh?
Who is that despicable man who's keeping you? They have the same haircut. It's the son. He flinches in the disgust in my voice, but he answers nonetheless.
Father.
It's my dad.
What?
What?
What's going on?
Child, why has your father done this to you? He opens his mouth to speak, but a horrible wave of sorrow washes over his face. It's alright, darling. You're safe with me now. I run a hand up and down his bony arm soothingly.
Yes.
You can tell me what happened. The boy sniffles, but seems reassured. Well, Mother and Father used to argue a lot. One day, Mother and I left. She said we wouldn't see Father anymore. I nod tensely. She must have taken him and fled for their safety.
Father.
But I was walking to school and I saw Father. His face begins to crease with building distress.
And then?
He said we were going on a holiday, and we came here, and his little fist squeezed tightly, and I shake my head to signal that he doesn't need to say more. So that's what this is about. That bully couldn't handle the shame of his wife and child having left him, so he took his son. He abducted him, kidnapped him. There's no innocent way to say that. And he took him by force and is keeping him locked up in some sort of... What? Payback? What an absolute, unbelievable, vile, wicked little... I'm so sorry, my boy. This must have been hard for you. He nods, heartache spilling from every pore of his body. How about you come with me and we'll try to get back to your mother? She must be worried sick over what her precious child must be.
Really?
Really? I clasp his tiny little hand in mine.
Yes.
Yes, let's get away from here, to somewhere safe. The police will find your mother and will take you back to her. A glimmer of hope shines in his eyes, and it warms my whole being. He nods with a whimper, and together we turn to leave the cellar. I feel a chest flutter with new excitement. This nightmare is almost over. All that's left is to sneak back through the window into the dining room and run to the center of the village for help. Oh god. The guy is gonna come, isn't he? Uh-oh. No. I knew it! The rasp of his voice bounces off the walls, filling the room with such a hideous rumble.
You.
Clever, clever girl. Not clever enough. He smirks darkly at me, like the villain he truly is. Father. Quiet, boy. The child bursts his face in the side of my dress fearfully. Think you can pull the wool over my eyes? Think again, you despicable creature. He grins at his own insult, taking a step towards us. I expect terror to flood my senses, to choke me, to freeze me in place. Instead, I feel a fiery blaze of defiance.
No.
Leave us alone. The three of us flinch in shock at how loudly and brutally my voice had leapt from me. You have no right to treat your son this way. Your son. I bark my hatred at him, but he remains uncaring.
No.
I doubt very much that what I do with my son is any of your business. He takes another step forward. Even though the boy begins to tremble beside me, I don't back away. I will not show weakness.
Get lost.
Now move aside before I do something reckless. Oh, what you gonna do, neighbor? He leers at me with intimidation. It hits me like a physical force, and I endure it with all my might. I will not. I refuse to leave this poor boy until this poor boy is set free. I puff out my chest, fixing him with a piercing glare. I've never felt this powerful in my life. Some of that power takes effect. The man's eyebrow twitches as he gazes at me with surprise. Well, I suppose if you insist, then you shall have your wish. A flicker of triumph courses through me, but then his evil smile reappears.
No.
Indeed, you will not leave here while my son is in prison. In fact, you will not leave here at all. He takes another step, and this time I feel myself falter. Neither of you will. An ice-cold horror trickles through the armor of my rage, melting it away to nothing. Does he mean? He closes the gap even more. The boy shrinks backwards into the cellar again, and I helplessly do the same. He follows, reaching out towards me, but before I can react, the boy wrenches his hand out of mine. Father, stop! He darts between us, grasping his father's arm with both of his feeble hands. The man scowls at him with an ugly malice in his face. Do not interfere. He pulls his arm away, but the boy pushes against his stomach instead. Please. Grah! And with almost a demonic roar, he picks his son clean off the floor. To my absolute dismay, he throws the boy's frail body across. This is so, intense. I did not expect this story to get so intense. He throws the boy across the floor. He lands with a sickening crack on the cobbles. No, what have you done? I can barely finish my sentence before the force overwhelms me. A claustrophobic, crushing vice grip on my throat. Not nearly as much as what I'm about to do to you. He snarls the words into my face, his hot spit flecking my mouth. My fingers try to remove his hand from my neck, but they're drained of all their strength. Then he thrusts me away from him, letting me tumble backwards and collapse in the heap on the ground. I can only reel in shock and grieve the loss of the confidence I'd had only moments ago. I was so close. When I look up again, the man is towering over me with something in his hands. Once my confused brain can recognize what it is, I know that my fate is truly sealed. Goodbye, you filthy meddler. He raises the axe with both arms. I stare up at it, my vision blurry with tears. I'd seen it earlier. It's just been leaning against the wall right here by the cellar door this whole time. If only I'd gotten to it first. I swivel my head just enough to catch sight of the boy. He's spread out lifelessly on the floor, although I can see and still see him breathing. He must be unconscious. When he wakes up, if he wakes up, he'll see that I failed him. He'll be trapped in this godforsaken place forever, when I could have set him free. The axe slices through the air like a swooping bird. I finally found my voice in this world, but I paid for it with my life. And I died. Alright guys, what's worse? Mental asylum or death? Because this is not what I expected. I was hoping we would yell loud enough for, the person that we could clearly hear from inside the house to hear us. But no, that just wasn't good enough. So we gotta go after him. We gotta keep it a secret and then go after him at night. Let's see how it works. I know how we can do this. I can't risk being seen creeping around that house again, but the boy sneaks out several nights a week. He clearly has a method of escaping the cellar, at least. If I can meet him next time he comes to the fence, that's perfect. I won't need to take a single step onto that property. I can snatch that child out from under the disgusting man's nose without ever leaving home. I'll lift him over the fence and together we'll run to the village for help. His master will know nothing. Master? Ew. 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 Please don't refer to him like that. Until it's too late for him to stop us. Almost giddy with the dark thrill of it all, I dip my pen into its ink and head outside. Striding up to the fence boldly, I write what I pray will be the last message that either of us will need to send. Come here tomorrow after dark. Wait for me. I will meet you. It takes several leaves to hold all of my words. When I've finished scrawling them down, I step back, my muscles twitching in excitement. There, just one more day and all of this should be over. I nod to myself, grasping to my newfound confidence as hard as I can. The inner fire that I've unleashed will enable me to commit greater deeds than ever before. It feels dangerous and somehow very right. Alright, here we go. This should work, right? This should work. Since arriving at this cottage, I've enjoyed its tranquil evenings. Tonight, however, the quiet is incredibly tense. I've got everything together. A blanket to wrap the boy up in, a chunk of freshly baked bread for him to eat, some coins for emergencies. I probably began my waiting too soon. I've been sitting here for long enough that my limbs have gone stiff. At every tiny sound I jolt. The second I hear the rustling noise, the boy making his way through the grass, I rush out to greet him. The quicker I can get to him, you should have also gotten him like some water too, probably. The quicker I can get him onto my side of the fence, the quicker we can get away from here. Nerves crackle on my stomach and I breathe them away as calmly as I can. Any moment now, he'll come. Oh? He never arrived. I'd stayed up until the sun began to rise, poised and ready for a signal that never came. At that point, it became clear that my solitude was not going to be broken. I don't understand. He's always read my messages and responded in kind. Why not last night of all nights? When Mrs. Miller had arrived a few hours ago to check on me, I'd been so deeply asleep, you'd have thought me dead. The waiting and the disappointment had exhausted me. Thankfully, she accepted my excuse for not feeling well and told me to stay in bed and rest. The afternoon had almost passed and I finally caught up on sleep. Tomorrow I can pretend to have recovered and continue as normal. The thought of tomorrow and the days beyond is so troubling. What will become of that boy? Did he not heed my instructions because he was afraid of me, or what his captor would do if he was caught? Should I write him another message? My legs twitch as I think about going out to the fence, but I stay put. Miss Miller thinks that I'm unwell. I better not be seen outside. My mind won't rest until I've done something, but I'll wait again until nightfall. Yeah, wait for the guy to come to you. Alright, Alma. I'll return tomorrow. I nod in mock gratitude.
Very good.
It does please me to see that you're feeling better. I'll fetch us a tin of rose tea from the village. That'll be a nice little treat with lunch.
All right.
Thank you, Miss Miller. She nods dutifully and leaves. The silence envelops me again, like the least enjoyable hug possible. I pause to give her time to walk out of the sight of the cottage. Then I think of the fence and sneak from my bed. My instructions. They're still here. At once I know exactly why the boy didn't come to meet me. He never saw any of this. He always removes my scribbles from the plant before he writes back. It's his way of minimizing the evidence of our conversations. If they're still here, then he might not have been able to get out of the cellar that night. Why? Has something happened to him? My heart starts to pound out at the possibilities. Perhaps the man is punishing him further, torturing him. Perhaps he has moved him to a different part of the house. Or perhaps I'm too late, and he's...
Goodness.
No, that can't be. Before I stop myself, I haul my body over the fence. I have no answers, But I can't just let this be. Heaving a deep breath, I pray that my second bout of trespassing won't lead either of us into more danger. Here we go again. Anxiety ripples through me as I wait for the unkempt grass. The memory of being chased through the garden is still fresh enough to scare me. I press on, seeking out the little cellar window as quickly as I can. Again, it takes me a minute to adjust my eyes to the dim scene visible through the glass. Then I see him, the boy kneeling on the floor. He's holding one of his legs at an awkward angle. I squint, seeing something snaking across the stone between him and the wall.
No.
Oh God, he's been tied up. He's tethered by the ankle to a piece of furniture. A table or dresser, it's hard to see. Either way, I have my answer. This is why I got no response. The man must have realized that something was going on and made the prison cell even more restrictive. Bile rises in my throat and I feel sick with both fear and anger. How dare he do this? Who does he think he is? My hands clench in furious fists. This has to end. With no real plan, I start feeling around the edges of the window, looking for a way to open it. I fail, but my scuffling does achieve one thing. The boy notices me. Just like the night I discovered him, he gazes up at me, wide-eyed with surprise and anguish. It hurts my heart even more this time. Suddenly, he points frantically at the window. I watch his hands as he mimes something, and the cogs in my brain whir urgently. And I realize he's trying to tell me the bar that opens the window from inside is loose. If I can make it move from outside, then it may slip enough for me to open it. Following his instruction, I dig my nails into the wood, beginning to shuffle the window from side to side in its frame. Staring pleadingly at the bar, I see it shift just a little. Yes, you can do it, let me in. I move faster as the boy nods, his own hands mimicking mine, as I jiggled the aged wood with more force. I don't want to wake the man, but this needs some strength. I'm not sure how long I wrestled this window for, but eventually I'm victorious. The metal bar, thin from years of wear, falls to the side. It pops the window outwards by the tiniest margin, but that's enough. I reach into the gap and pull the window wide open. It's going to be okay. I mouth the words silently, but as soon as they escape my lips, we both notice our next obstacle. The boy can't move, and even without the layers of my day dress, I'm still far too big to fit through the window to untie him. Damn, what are we to do now? I freeze for a moment in a frenzied thought, and then an idea hits me. Hold on. Don't say it so loudly now. Scrambling to my feet, I fling myself across the overgrowth as fast as I dare risk, and wish that this grass wasn't so tall and noisy. There's a reason it's tall and noisy now. He's trying to hide something. Rushing across my own garden, I search for the basket where I keep my gardening tools. There it is. Trowel, fork. Aha! Seizing the pruners I use for trimming, I barrel across the grass, back to the fence. As I approach the cottage once more, I glance around out of habit. Thankfully, the slumbering world seems blissfully unaware of what we're doing. Collapsing at the window again, I show the boy the pruners. He nods feverishly, coming as close to the window as he can manage to reaching out his hands. A fresh wave of nerves washes over me as I lower my arm into the window, aiming my throw as best as possible. I watch the pruner sail for the air towards the boy. He goes to catch them, but the handle bounces off his wrist and... That was so loud. The two of us hold our breath in horror as echoes of metal on the stone die down. Please. No, it's okay? I thought there'd be no chance that such a racket hadn't woken the man. Did he really not hear it? We wait for a moment longer, searching the silence for a hint that someone might be coming. I think we got away with it. Releasing my tense muscle, I urge the boy to continue. He snaps out of his stasis, collecting the pruners from the ground and slicing at the rope around his ankle. It breaks under the blade quite easily, and at last he can move freely again. He runs towards the window, but then halts in his tracks with a sad expression. I can't climb, he whispers, tickling my ears painfully. There were boxes here. I stood on them to reach the window. Where are they now? His head tilts downwards glumly. Father took them away when he tied me up. My shoulders sag at yet another obstacle, and a sense of horrible realization comes over me when I think about what he said.
What?
Wait, that man is your father. The boy nods sadly and my mouth falls open in shock. What? But, why would he do this to his own son? He opens his mouth to reply, but then a huge wave of sorrow washes over his face. It's okay, child. I'm here to help you. Please tell me what happened. The boy sniffles, but seems reassured. Well, Mother and Father used to argue a lot. One day, Mother and I left, and we wouldn't see Father anymore. She must have taken him and fled for their safety. I was walking to school, and Father, took me and stuff. Said we were going on holiday. Yes, so that's what this is about. The bully couldn't handle the shame of his wife and son leaving him. He kidnapped him for payback or something. The same exchange happens. He nods, heartache spilling from every pore of his body. Listen, we can put an end to this tonight. I'll get you out of this place and we'll try to get back to your mother. She must be worried sick over where her precious child might be.
Really?
Really? I send him the reassuring smile I could muster. Yes. Let's get away from here. To somewhere safe. The police will find your mother and take you back to her. A glimmer of hope shines into his eyes, and it warms my whole being. Now, I lean into the window, pointing to a now severed rope. Throw that up to me, and we'll see if we can pull you up. Suddenly optimistic again, he springs into action, grabbing the rope, and he flings it upwards with all his might. Thankfully, I'm able to catch it. I hold it securely, dangling the other end back down to him. He wraps his fist around it tightly, and with a look of steely determination begins to climb. My hands immediately start to burn with friction as I try to hold his weight. It's not exactly heavy, but then again, I'm not exactly strong either. The rough stone crumples slightly under his feet as he takes shaky steps against the wall. He's making progress, but it's slow. I grit my teeth, trying to silence my groans as the rope bites into my skin. They'll be raw for days, but I must hold on. The shuffling gets louder as he climbs further. I yank the rope as hard as I can, and the very top of his little head becomes visible through the window. That's it. Butterflies swarm my stomach in anticipation. We're so close. Almost there. I'm so startled I almost let go. I know what you're doing, woman. He did wake up after all. The boy bleats a terrified wail. Seeing the impending doom on his face knocks me out of my stupor. I will not let him be tortured any longer. Come on. I crouch, bracing my feet either side of the window and throwing my whole body weight backwards. The boy slides further upwards. He starts climbing again, more frantically than ever. You can't imagine what I'm going to do to you when I get my hands on you. The growl of his voice is terrifying, and his boots stomp more loudly as he stalks towards us through the grass. No, he can't catch us. With one last haul, I give everything that my skinny frame can offer. It's enough, and the boy grasps the sides of the window and pulls himself through at last. When the poor thing collapses into my arms, my need to protect him multiplies infinitely.
Where are you?
Where are you? His father sounds absolutely livid, a rampaging monster thirsty for blood. The boy trembles like a deer staring down the barrel of a gun. It's like knows it's over. But to hell with that. The fires of rage and frustration roar within me once more, and I seize the boy by the collar. Staying as low as possible, I thrust him forward and begin to rush into the garden. A chorus of swishing grass is now filling the night from all 3 sets of feet. You can't get away. Panicked, and desperate for a way out, I do the only thing my heart tells me is right. I trust the plants. Diving on top of the boy, I drown us deep into the overgrowth. The grass curves and leans above us, sheltering us from view.
Oh no.
Make not a sound. I hiss this into the boy's ear, embracing him tightly. His body shakes with fear against me, but he closes his mouth and quiets his breath. With only my hearing to inform me, I listen carefully. The man's footsteps come to a halt. He grunts and then lets out an almighty yell. Grah! Oh no! That's the cellar window. He must have smashed it in fury. He knows I'm taking the boy, and I'm certain he'll do anything to get him back. Where the hell are you? Show yourselves! His stomping begins again. The two of us press ourselves more heavily into the dirt, praying not to be seen. I feel the threat of sobs swelling in the boy's chest, and his fear radiates through me, too. This hiding place may not save us, but I've always believed in plants. My long history of adoring nature has created a special relationship between myself and the green world. I've nurtured it, cared for it tirelessly. Now it can care for me. We have a mutual understanding, a respect, a love. This is no time for your hysteria. This is a little more serious than trusting the plants, okay? Squeezing my eyes shut, I pictured that love spilling out of me and seeping into the dark foliage below. Please, honor our bond. Care for me as I have cared for you. The pair of us lay like corpses in the grass, still barely daring to breathe. As I tuned back into the noises around us, I realized the man's footsteps have grown more faint. He has moved further away. I think he's looking over my garden fence. He really didn't notice us on the ground? I'll tell that Miller woman what you've done. You can't hide him forever. He truly thinks that we're in the house. This is our moment. He's probably as far away from us as he can get in this scenario. If we're going to make a run for it, it has to be now.
All right.
On my count, child. I grasp his wrist firmly, and I feel him nod. One. Our bodies stiffen with anxiety and terror. Two. We're going to do this. Three. We erupt from the grass like a pair of fish leaping out of the water. I point the boy towards the front of the cottage, with his father patrolling the fence. The bag of supplies is out of reach now. We'll have to flee with nothing but our clothes. My ladylike demeanor falls away as I run like a dog at the face of at a race, practically foaming at the mouth with adrenaline. We have to outrun him. Oi! He's heard us. I'm just praying that our separation is big enough for us to reach a safe place before he catches up. Half choked by panic, I risk a single glance backwards. His silhouette flinches in confusion as he turns this way and that. He knows we're moving, but with the distance and lack of light, he can't seem to make out where we are. That's it. Keep searching. Lose us in the darkness. The boy's rasping breaths ring in my ear. I pull him onwards, desperate to keep up our speed. His father's shouts grow even more faint, and suddenly the night grows much quieter. We reach the edge of the grass. With much softer footsteps, we dash onto the road in front of the cottage. I've never been to the village. I don't know which direction to take. I don't know what we'll find when we get there, or where the nearest policeman will be, especially at this hour. All I know is that we must keep running. The boy's hand tightens around my own. We linked ourselves strongly together like an unbreakable chain bound by trust. And side by side, panting and terrified, we run and run and run. Let's see if we make it. Epilogue. Oh, we did. I did all the bad endings first. I thought the day thing would work too, actually. A cool... Oh, that's me! I get to see my character too? Epic. A cool breeze wafts in through the open window, caressing my skin pleasantly. Giving in to temptation, I pick up the letter I received this morning and read it again. Dear Amna, a smile spreads across my face. The simple sight of my name written in his hand and in ink rather than coal brings me unspeakable joy. That night we found success. Against the odds, the boy and I managed to flee all the way into the village. I'd hammer on the door of the church until the resident priest had answered. For a horrible moment, I feared that history would repeat itself and I'd end up in a clinic once again for my delusions. However, upon seeing the quivering, malnourished boy at my side, he'd taken us inside and gone to fetch a policeman. Again, I braced myself for the madwoman treatment I was sure would come. At first, the policeman did exactly that. However, the priest had convinced him to summon another policeman and get a second opinion on what was going on. Since a young child was now involved, he reluctantly agreed. The second policeman turned out to be our savior. When he saw the boy's dirty blonde hair and sparkling eyes, he realized who he was. He heard a case that involved a mother reporting her son missing only a couple of towns from here. His certainty that this was the very same boy swept away all doubt about my mental state, and we were saved. Sagging in relief even now, I continue reading that boy's letter. Wow, that first policeman sure was not doing his job. He should know. That first policeman needs to know. Why didn't he take me seriously? What the hell? First policeman. What you doing? Not your job. That's what I don't think you're doing. Stupid police first one. Ugh. There. The last few weeks have been very good. It's been really nice to go home with Mother. She tells me that Father had been taken to a place where he won't be able to hurt anyone again. Yeah, that's right. He's been taken to jail, or the madhouse, or the electric chair, whichever one comes first, alright? And a mighty Actually, I only think killers go to the electric chair. I don't think kidnappers do. Kidnappers who don't kill, I don't know. And that guy's weird though. I don't think we should have him. He murdered me with an axe once, but not in this version of events. I just want to tell the policeman that. I just want to tell him that, okay? In the mighty display of ironic karma, that despicable man is now the one under lock and key, answering for his crimes in a prison cell. It feels blissful to know that his reign of terror is permanently over. Mother still talks about you every day. I think she wants you to be my big sister. I chuckle with glee. The first letter I had received after the incident was from her. I've never read anything more full of love and gratitude in my life. There were even tear stains peppering the page. I keep it by my bedside, where I keep this one too. I hope to see you again soon. Let's do something happy this time.
All right.
We absolutely will, little one. I press my lips to the letter in a kiss, and my heart overflowing. It feels like a lot has changed now. Even after my words were proven to be true during the kidnapping trial, my own father had struggled to acknowledge it. I suppose it was hard to believe that after my 20 years of apparent hysteria, however, wait, what? Oh, yeah. It was hard to believe it. I thought there was a follow-up sentence to that. It's not. However, in the weeks that followed, a sort of acceptance came over him. Wow, he had to accept that his daughter was a savior to a literal kidnapped child. Wow, that must have been hard on him. He never apologized for the times he dismissed me, but then I never expected him to. He's too stubborn and proud for that. What he did do was open up his mind a little. These days, he's willing to give my feelings more consideration instead of immediately casting them aside as misguided ramblings. He even put a stop to my banishment and allowed me to leave the cottage and take up my original place here in the family home. Although he doesn't communicate it, I can sense that my mental illness is a little less powerful in his view of me. Even though that I can be something other than just a fanciful, powerless woman, that warms my heart to no end. I experienced a lot during my time in the cottage, despite great opposition. I've gotten through it, having gained something. I'm not the timid little thing I once was. I stood up to that brutish enemy and prevailed. I acted according to my own will, and I made something happen. As a woman and as a mentally vulnerable person, I finally feel as though I'm valid. Perhaps I've never had to be viewed as normal, but the fact depresses me much less now. I know that I can be seen and heard in this world, and I'm going to keep shouting. I'm going to seek out every opportunity I can find to put my own personal stamp upon my life. I'm going to truly be somebody. Drifting back into the moment, I read the final letters at the bottom of the page. Thank you, Alma.
Yes.
That's right. My name is Alma, and I'm a valid, capable woman. Yes, you are, Alma. Yes, you are. Well, now, I shouldn't have to be saving kidnapped children to feel valid and capable, but, you know, whatever works out for you. That was Secrets in Green. And wow, what a story that was. I like that there were multiple paths you could take. I like that not all of them were good. I mean, obviously, there had to be something that didn't work out. I at least thought that the woman kinda would be on my side, because I kinda want to trust her too. But at the minute I heard the knocking on the door, I was like, oh no, this is gonna take another turn, isn't it? And then I predicted it. Haha. I thought that maybe she would hear us in the house being slaughtered. That woman, you know? But I don't think she did. That's why she didn't come rushing in and seeing what was going on, I guess. And then, you know, we got the best ending, which is what really matters the most. We saved the kid. That's great. I did not. I mean, I like that the story took a approach towards mental illness, towards emotional vulnerability. Even has like talk about like how when how your family sees it, how other people views it, that type of stuff. All the negative things associated with it. So, because it's not really a fun thing to go through, and people tend to be more afraid of people, I guess, with mental illness. Maybe. It really, I don't know, it depends on who you are and what you've been through, I guess. And, yeah, I didn't know that the story would take such an intense turn in the real world, but it was interesting that it explored this avenue as well. Kind of turned it into a little bit of a horror story as well. So, I mean, I could appreciate it. I appreciated that the creativity that they did, because, you know, even, like, it has you questioning in the beginning, like, is Alma really, like, hallucinating these words appearing on the plant leaves, or is that an actual thing that's happening? I like that they did that, and they didn't make it clear until they did, you know, until they wanted to. So that's pretty cool. Secrets in Green. I hope you guys enjoyed this story like I did. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I'll see you in the next video. Okay. Goodbye.